Hey, good morning. Welcome back to the Junius Maltby channel. I hope you guys don't get sick and tired of beating certain themes into the ground and reiterating certain topics because it seems like it's a never-ending problem, the issues that we're grappling with, wrestling with, and they keep worsening. The topics keep coming up. So today we're going to look at an article that I found very interesting this morning. It's written by a man by the name of Ted Bauman. I believe that's the way you pronounce his name, Bauman. He's the editor for the Bauman Letter. I'm not going to read the entire article, but I did take quite a few snippets out so we could go over some of the key points that he makes in the article. But I'd encourage all of you guys to seek it out on your own and give it a read if it's something you're interested in. If some of the points that he makes that we cover here perk your interest, well, then go ahead and read the whole thing. He's got some other links in there that might take you down some other rabbit holes. But it's a good article. It's something, I think, that raises points of awareness that we have discussed here, and it holds to a lot of those themes. Well, of course, the Fed thing, that popped up in the news again this morning. I don't even want to spend a nanosecond on it. Who cares? The hazy Fed rate outlook. They just keep dangling that carrot and making people think they are important, and they're thinking that the Fed has some kind of hidden powers. And it's the same old thing. The Fed doesn't know what they're doing, and it's evident. And they can't make a decision. They're the most indecisive, incompetent clowns that have ever ran around in the circus tent. So let's get right into this. Killing Democracy, the Rise of Nation, Inc. There's a lot of things that are killing not only democracy, but Western civilization. And let's just look at the points in this article. Killing Democracy, the Rise of Nation, Inc. Now, Professor Danny Roderick of Harvard's Kennedy School of Economics argues that today's world faces a political trilemma. Democracy, national sovereignty, and global economic integration are mutually incompatible. We can combine any two of the three, but never have all three simultaneously. If we want more globalization, we must either give up some democracy or some national sovereignty. Democracy means that citizens of each nation have the right to make their own sovereign rules. But global economic integration demands that those rules be the same for all countries. Given the difficulties of selling trade treaties to skeptical voters, we seem to be heading inexorably toward a global, quote, government that severely restricts national sovereignty in the name of, quote, free trade. And because democratic global government is logistically impossible, that government will tend to be a dictatorship. Roderick's trilemma came to mind as I prepared my talk on personal asset protection for this week's Total Wealth Symposium in Hamilton, Bermuda. To quote Colonel Kurtz from the epic Vietnam War film Apocalypse Now, the connection struck me like a diamond bullet right through my forehead. And we do skip a little bit of the article here, and we're going to get to this portion here called Sacrificing the Pawns. So what is this diamond bullet connecting Roderick's political trilemma to rapidly increasing risks to your assets? It's nicely summarized in a recent article about Apple's battle with the European Union over its Irish taxes. Nation-states have evolved into Nation Inc. They follow the same logic and seek the same ends as any corporation. Leaders are now CEO-like figures whose only concern is the bottom line. Citizens are shareholders, some of whom own more stock than others. So they do what any corporation would do. They offload those contradictions onto those least able to protect themselves. That's why the rights of little shareholders in Nation Inc., you and me, are steadily sacrificed to improve the national bottom line, implicitly defined as the well-being of the bigger, more powerful shareholders. Individual citizens like us struggle to keep our financial affairs private, keep money offshore, or own a foreign asset protection vehicle. We are easy targets. low-hanging fruit, quick wins. Our rights are increasingly seen as quaint, but irksome traditions that may have been important to wig-wearing patriots in the late 18th century, but irrelevant in today's economy where freedom for globalized corporations is the priority. Here's the U.S. financial trilemma. Nowhere is this clearer than in the world of international taxation, where the U.S. government clings to its own political trilemma. I'm going to interject this here. If you look at the Freedom Index worldwide, the United States is not the freest country. Everyone, you hear the U.S. always talking about land of the free, home of the brave. We're so free. Freedom. They hate us for our freedoms. You're not that free. Ever heard of the Patriot Act? Look at the constant encroachments on our privacy, our liberties, and our freedom that happen every day in this country. We were free at one point, but that has been done away with. So here you go. The government insists on knowing the financial affairs of U.S. taxpayers, individual U.S. taxpayers, in intimate detail to ensure that every penny of tax is collected on income and wealth everywhere in the world. Number two, U.S. corporations, on the other hand, are free to engage in any form of tax arbitrage and don't have to pay U.S. tax on their offshore operations until they choose to do so. Although the U.S. insists that foreign governments and financial institutions report on U.S. clients, it maintains it has neither the capacity nor obligation to reciprocate. Foreigners are most welcome to hide assets here. As in a game of chess, pawns like you and me are increasingly sacrificed to protect the economic royalty at the back of the board. Cracking down on us little shareholders is a great way to keep up the appearance that Nation Inc. plays fair. In his 1945 essay, Listen, Little Man, Austrian psychoanalyst Wilhelm Reich explained that dependence on politicians to solve our problems was the root of our eventual enslavement. You let the powerful demand power for the little man, but you yourself are silent. You provide powerful men with more power or choose weak, malignant men to represent you. And you discover too late that you are always the dupe. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you want to protect what's yours in this rapidly changing world, you need to rely on yourself, not politicians. Given Roderick's trilemma, they couldn't protect you even if they wanted to. So thank you, Mr. Bauman, for those words. I encourage all of you to read the entire article if you can. I'll try to throw the link down below in the video description. Just again, that reiterates all those points. I mean, we're yes, pawns on the chessboard, but also we've discussed in the past that we are plebes, peasants, serfs. That is what we are, and we are sacrificed. The king's men come riding up on horses, bearing swords. They demand a portion of our crops, and that we pay unto them our taxes, or lo and behold, they will, strike us a blow, or drag us off and put us in a dungeon, or, as in today's day and age, surround us. Men with guns will come, take you away, and put you in a cage. Again, that is the punishment if you do not render unto Caesar what is Caesar, and give unto them their taxes. But of course, there are the elite, the corporate owners, and the incorporated billionaires, and the titans of industry that can pull favors and hide and wear their suits and buy favors. And, they're treated a little bit differently than you, the peasant. So just once again, putting us in our place, the Junior Small B channel, humbly letting us know that we are all peasants and serfs. I'm pretty sure that nobody who is on this channel would fall into a different category. Okay, this is going to play right into the same thing. We just talked about asset protection, how no one can protect their assets and wealth and look out for themselves other than you, the individual you. Look at yourself and the reflection of your screen. Tap yourself on the chest. Only you can protect your own wealth, the fruits of your labors, your energy that is stored away when you work hard. Now, the only way to protect your wealth, as we've discussed here, proven time and time and time and time again, gold and silver. Gold and silver. Physical gold and silver. I really do hope that none of you out there dabble in ETFs, paper gold, paper silver contracts, and that kind of thing, and commodities exchange. Please, just, I beg you guys not to do that. I really do. I'd hate to see you get stuck with it. You're never going to get the physical, or it's going to become increasingly more difficult. I just covered some articles on that recently, and I actually saw some more this morning. I don't know if they're included in this because we're moving pretty rapidly. There's a lot of material to include. Just remember, physical gold and silver. If you don't hold it, you don't have it. Period. Money does not exist in this country. In fact, money does not exist anywhere in the world. What is money? Well, we've talked about that before. So few people know, and many who profess to know do not. Money is a commodity with a recognized value. Gold and silver remain the last known standard of real money. Now remember, J.P. Morgan's famous quote, "Gold is money, everything else is credit." The globalists, through their creation of the Federal Reserve, have sold the biggest lie ever to the world and continue to get away with it. People everywhere believe the fiat-created Federal Reserve note, falsely called the dollar, is actually a monetary dollar. Pause. If you guys get a chance, the definition of the dollar, I did a video on what the definition of a dollar is. Find that video in the archives, search it, and please take a moment to listen to that. We have often stated how Federal Reserve notes are evidences of debt issued by the Fed. We also always add that debt is not and never can be money. Yet almost every American wrongly believes debt is money because they believe the Fed dollar is money. If a currency is a promise to pay, what is the promise you receive? None. Zip. Nada. All you get is more of the same in different denominations. Currencies are more akin to the card game Old Maid, where one wants to avoid being the last holder of the Queen card, designated as the Old Maid. The American public will be in for a financial shock of their lives when they wake up one day and discover what they own are nothing more than old maids that have been devalued by 30, 40, maybe even 50%. The old maids will be the fiat Federal Reserve notes, falsely known as a dollar, but they will have declined in value relative to gold and silver, aka real money. If it takes $1,300 in Federal Reserve notes to purchase an ounce of gold, and one day overnight that gold is revalued so that it takes 5,000 fiat Federal Reserve notes to purchase the same ounce of gold, it is not the ounce of gold that is changed. Again, we've talked about this, guys. Remember, instead the number of fiat that the number of fiats has been devalued, worth much less than the Federal Reserve once said they were worth, which is why more and more will be required to buy the unchanged ounce of gold and silver. I told you we were going to do some reiterating and remembering and reminding today, so this is definitely hitting home for all of us. The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. As you can see, this channel gets its fair share of hate. The globalists hate the truth, and they do everything possible to keep the truth suppressed. Knowing the difference between money and currency is a perfect example. Remember, the money, scratched out, currency you hold in any bank is even more unreal than the paper currency that you may still think is money, because anything digitalized is pure fiction. And there are articles coming out every day how they want to do away with cash and have everything done on credit cards, debit cards, and in the digital cloud, so there is no handling of physical, even currency anymore. That's how much they want this lie to sink in, to even be worse than it is already. Why stocks look primed for a meltdown. So if you do have stocks, you do have some diversification in mutual funds, hey, good for you, good for you. But just pay attention now, because a lot of things coming out talking about how stocks are looking primed for a meltdown within months. It is an election year. There's different things in the wind. But I do think things are overinflated. I know that locally, and I've looked around, that real estate markets are stalling, stagnating. Things are happening in that realm, even in markets that were basically on fire up until recently. So critical information ahead. U.S. stock markets, things are happening. Headlines are showing that prepare for the perfect storm that will obliterate stocks. Economists' terrifying warning: a perfect market storm is brewing and it's going to leave economic carnage in its wake. Financial experts warned. It's out today. And The Economist told CNBC that you have a perfect storm here if you get something like a Fed rate hike into the next several months. I said the problem is that the market is not priced for it. It wouldn't be surprising that we see some kind of repeat as we had towards the end of last year into January, February, which was something close to a 12% correction. So we could, he's talking about that happening. But personally, I think it could be worse than that. And I could often think of this point where I would imagine they would blame somebody. It's always nice to have scapegoats and stuff. So it would be perfect if they timed the rate hike right before an already impending collapse or contraction. And then they could blame the rate hike, blame certain people who made that decision, make some heads roll. Hey, just tell them, hey, you're going to take one for the team here. Here's a big check. Go your separate ways. Or they could go on speaking tours, retire. The whole how that works. Blame the rate hike, drop the rates, justify negative interest rates, and maybe switch things around a bit, do some more quantitative easing, some more inflationary measures. Because the public, globally, since we're all global citizens now, as we read earlier, we would all be begging for it. After 3 days, empty grocery stores, you name it, all it's going to take is a couple of rumbly-tumblies in their tummies, and people getting the hunger pains and realizing, they can't go to McDonald's, or they couldn't get fresh eggs that morning, or maybe there wasn't enough bread in the store. That happens once, and 90% of the people are going to beg the government to do anything possible. Anything. And you, my friend, all of you out there, subscribers, viewers of this channel, will be deemed the enemy of the state if you speak in opposition to those government handouts or those government regulations, or turning over your gold, or sacrificing for the good of the country, or the good of the people, the good of the globe. But we that speak the truth are the enemy. We always will be. Many of us fall into the basket of deplorables, as Hillary Clinton would term us. I'm very proud of being associated with the basket of deplorables. I didn't come up with that term. That came up with the crippled, seizing stroke victim with traumatic brain injuries who wears the Zeiss Z1 blue glasses, not available here in the United States, but anti-seizure glasses nonetheless. That was her words for you and I. Of course, we know she's a global elitist, so she sits at the table of power and drinks from those goblets. So there you go. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen of the Junius Maltby channel. Democracy, the rise of Nation Inc. It's all coming together. We're seeing it every day. But thought you'd get a kick out of those articles and how they tie some things together and doing some review. Appreciate you guys being here today. And please continue to like, share, and subscribe. Keep the energy going. And if you do feel like it out of the goodness of your heart, go ahead and support this channel by clicking on the little watermark on the upper right. It has an eye on it. And go ahead and support this channel and what we do here. Thank you all. And stand by for news and information coming up later on, as well as updates on the Junius Maltby silver coin that we are working together very hard to get minted and distributed. Thank you. Have a good day.